Verse 4 says, "Thou holdest mine eyes waking. I am so troubled that I cannot speak." We're going to see that Asaph's realization was that God had allowed this adversity. My husband and I visited Kenya over 5 years ago now. One of the missionary wives was enduring very difficult and trying circumstances. She and her husband had planned to take a trip to South Africa, and so she had received the yellow fever shot, but the medication reacted with her system. Sleepless night after sleepless night followed, with days being little better for catching sleep. Day past day, and her body began to feel the physical, emotional, and mental anguish of that lack of REM sleep. Her condition lasted at least 2 weeks, and in that time, her spirit became drained, her body weakened, her stamina slowed to a snail's pace. God answered prayer, and as time went on, she did return to full health, but those weeks with such little sleep had a tremendously wearing down effect upon her body. In verse 4, Asaph tells us, "Thou holdest mine eyes waking." So we see, first of all, that God has allowed these sleepless nights. It's an interesting notion. Here Asaph says it's God who's allowed him to stay up at night, who has caused him to water his bed with his tears, who has allowed him this condition so that he has no sleep. Insomnia is a terrible condition. I have known others besides my missionary friend who have suffered from insomnia for some length of time. The kind of wearing down that occurs in the entire person is something very difficult to endure, for the body repairs itself at night. The lovely rest of the evening is something we should never take for granted. When Adam slept soundly, God created Eve from his rib. As Jacob slept deeply, he had visions of a heavenly ladder. Sleep is frequently used as a metaphor for death, quiet, peaceful slumber. When Ahasuerus could not sleep, he had the Chronicles read to him and learned of Mordecai's heroic act to save his life in days gone by. Unlike the idols of wood and stone of the nations around Israel, who must be put in their naos each night into the alcove designed for them to sleep, the God of Israel does not sleep. When sleep eludes us, when dreams cannot be had, when our eyes lay awake at night, our bodies fatigued with overexertion but unable to rest, we may consider, as Asaph did, that God holds our eyes. That verse says, "Thou holdest mine eyes waking." And the second part, "I am so troubled that I cannot speak." So we see, secondly, Asaph cannot speak in response to God's sharp dealings with him. As we have seen in this text, Asaph sees God as the one allowing his sleepless night. The sharp ache of his heart is so sorely pained within him that he cannot speak. And here, at night, as he lies awake, yet again, so it would seem, he has descended from one crying aloud his complaint to God to simply acknowledging silently, without uttering any words, that God is holding his eyes awake. God is allowing this very difficult thing in his life. We may not have answers. We may be stuck directly in the middle of a tortuous maze of life. Nothing may make sense. Life may be completely unpredictable in every degree. Yet, if we acknowledge that God is allowing this difficulty, if we see he is orchestrating this challenge, if we hang on to the truth that he knows our frail and feebled frame of mind and can even perceive the unframed words of our lips, if we acknowledge him, cling to him in our pain, we are doing the right thing. Romans 8:26 encourages us, "Likewise the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered." When we're talking about words that can't be uttered, it's good to remember that God's Spirit intercedes for us with inward sighings that none of us know about. God cares for you. 1 Peter 1:7 encourages us to cast our cares upon God, for he cares for us. Our care for ourselves, often shaped by our own minds and hearts, lacks the kind of compassionate care God has for eternal souls. When we are stuck in the hurt of a pain-filled existence, which no one else seems to understand, let us take consolation that this Father of the fatherless and Judge of the widows, this God who cares for the lost and dying of the world, cares for his children to the point that he begs us to cast our care upon him, to the point that he encourages us to remember his Spirit, whose groanings over us cannot be uttered. When you have no words left to express your grief, see your pain as an allotment from God, who does all things well. When sleep departs from your eyes, see him as keeping you awake. Never stop beating out that path of seeking him, and seek to encourage yourself in the Lord instead of musing upon your complaints, for that is sure to make you faint. That verse again says, "Thou holdest mine eyes waking. I am so troubled that I cannot speak."